Right, let's start today's session. See, in the last lecture, we discussed just the basics of uh, .NET Core, what subjects I'm going to deal in the session. So as I said that we are going to learn .NET Core 8 version. So in this core, C#.NET, ASP.NET Core, MVC, Entity Framework, Web API, and SQL Server UI basics, right? So in the last lecture, we discussed what is what each and every subject purpose I explain you. So C#.NET is a programming language which is used to write coding part for the application development. Whereas ASP.NET is purely for web development purpose. It stands for Active Server Page, and ASP.NET is called as server-side technology. So using ASP.NET, we can develop web applications. So web application means simply the application which provides the services over the web is called web application. So in ASP.NET web application, we are going to use a design pattern called MVC. It is a design pattern to develop the web applications. In MVC, model stands for M for model. It's about data access layer. But for this, we are going to learn SQL Server. And view means presentation layer. So this is completely UI basics. So designing purpose, we need to learn UI basics. C for controller, business access layer. So complete logic. So application implementation, we can do with logic code. That is, we can write in C#.NET programming language. So ultimately, front-end development and back-end development both are there. For front-end development purpose, we need to use UI basics. Back-end development purpose, totally three things are required. One is programming language, frameworks, and database, SQL Server. Even I'm going to teach you entity framework also. It is an object relational mapper tool for .NET applications. Without writing raw SQL statements, we can generate database code. That is the purpose of entity framework. And Web API is nothing but application programming interface. API is a software tool which enables the communication between two or more applications. So this we discussed in the last lecture, what is what each and every subject purpose. At the same time, I have given a basic information about .NET. What is .NET means? .NET is a framework which is designed and developed by Microsoft Corporation. And .NET was announced by Bill Gates in the year of 2000. First version of .NET was released in the year of 2002. From 2002 to 2016, there was a .NET framework which makes platform dependent style. So that means .NET framework applications will only run on Windows based operating system, which cannot be run on other operating systems, right? From 2016 to 2015, 2025 till today. So we are using .NET Core platform, which makes platform independent style, which run on all operating system. Okay, right. But I'm going to cover complete .NET Core platform related stuff only, not a .NET framework. Okay. First of all, where we can write .NET code. So there is a software called Visual Studio software. This is Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is an editor tool or editor software. Visual Studio is an editor tool where we can write and develop the .NET logics. Okay. Yes. So if you want to write and develop .NET logic, we need to use Visual Studio editor tool. Okay. From 2002 onwards, okay, Microsoft released so many .NET framework versions as well as Visual Studio version. But at the same time, you should know the .NET Core versions also, right? So I have already, so look at this. These are the framework and Visual Studio versions, .NET Core versions. Let me list out quickly so that you will get clarity now. Okay, fine. See here, .NET Framework, Visual Studio versions. So .NET Framework 1.0, first version, which is in 2002. At that time, Microsoft released Visual Studio software. When it comes to .NET Framework 1.1, Visual Studio 2003 software. This is editor version. And this is framework version. 2.0 framework, at that time, Visual Studio 2005 was there. .NET Framework 3.0, not applicable because at the time of .NET Framework 3.0, Microsoft has not released any Visual Studio version. They were recommended to use Visual Studio 2005 only in 3.0. So .NET Framework 3.5, Visual Studio 2008. .NET Framework 4.0, Visual Studio 2010. 4.5, 2012. 4.6, 2015. Okay, 4.7.1 or 2, 2019. 4.8, 2022. But you may get doubt. Notice this here. From 2016 to 2025, .NET Core only there, right? But again, from 20 to 2016, .NET Framework is there. But even 2016 onwards, Microsoft released .NET Core. Along with 2016 onwards, they parallelly released .NET Framework also. That's the reason you can see 4.7 is there in VS 2019, 4.8, 2022 Visual Studio we can use. So the last version of .NET Framework was 4.8 only. Still, some company people are using .NET Framework 4.8 if they want to implement code completely on .NET Framework, not Core Framework. But notice this, I'm going to teach you completely core versions, right? .NET Core versions, not framework versions. So .NET Core first from 2016 to 2025 till today, .NET Core versions are there. What were the core versions also you must know that. The first .NET Core 1.0 2016 released, .NET Core 2.0 2018, 3.0 2019, 3.1 also 2019 in the same year, 5.0 2020, 6.0 2021, 7.0 2023, right now 8.0 last year, which was 2024, and .NET 8, 9 also there, which is completely released in the year of 2025 in this year. So it's available, but not fully. So .NET Core 8.0 2024, year it was released. This is the latest one, which I'm going to cover all the topics based on this .NET Core 8 or .NET 8 only. So, okay, these are the versions. Just for clarity, I'm giving these versions and don't worry about this version. No need to remember all these things. Okay. So you must know at least what are the .NET framework versions and what are the core versions. Latest framework version is .NET 4.8. Latest core version is .NET Core 8.0. And Visual Studio 2022 is the editor tool. This software tool only I'm going to use for doing our application development, VS 2022, right? Fine. Then next I'm going to discuss .NET code execution process. .NET code execution process. The moment when we write programs like in C#.NET, whenever I start execution, what steps are involved in code execution process of .NET? Okay, .NET code execution process. So actually there are two compilations takes place in .NET program execution process. How it is, I'll tell you that. So first thing, source code it is. Source code means I can say SC. C means source code. In general, source code means whatever you write the logic in the programming part, that is called source code. Before going to execute any logic, that is called source code. So you can write the source code in C#.NET because our language is C#. So C# source code it is. And the source code is compiled by language compiler. LC means language compiler. This is C# language compiler. Then this language compiler, after successful compilation, it generate MSIL code, Microsoft Intermediate Language Code, or it also called as Common Intermediate Language Code. Up to here, the first compilation takes place here. This is first compilation, right? Next, in the second compilation, MSIL code can be transferred to CLR. CLR is the main component In this CLR, there is a one more compiler is there, JIT, just-in-time compiler. Okay. The CLR, after successful compilation of just-in-time compiler, the code is executed by CLR, Common Language Runtime, and then it produces a byte code. This code is nothing but system understandable code or native code also. This code can be transferred to operating system, that is OS, for further process. This is second compilation here, you can see this. CLR JIT compiler is the second compilation of .NET programming execution. Two compilations takes place here. So here SSE means source code, LC means language compiler, MSIL means Microsoft Intermediate Language Code, CIL means Common Intermediate Language Code, Common Intermediate Language Code, and CLR means Common Language Runtime